Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Bumi and today we are watching how Mosasaurus broke the game by TierZoo. Yep, this one was suggested by New JoJo Supercuts and more over here. Over here? Um, I don't exactly know what dinosaur this is. I don't think I've seen this before. The name definitely doesn't sound familiar to me, but based on the thumbnail, it looks like this is gonna be an aquatic dinosaur because it has fins. So, um, I'm guessing this is one of the ancestors to our modern sharks. I guess we'll know. But yeah, like I said, I don't really know much about this, so I'm here to learn what this is all about. So remember, if you like my reactions, don't forget to leave a like, let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions and what I should check out next. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the video. Okay, so it is an aquatic dinosaur. And it packs quite a punch down. And it's huge too. Wait, it's losing to T-Rex? Well, that looks like shallow waters, but still. Okay.
The dinosaur
Okay
clips
then.
in this video are from documentaries you can find on CuriosityStream. More on them at the
Damn.
end of the video. Mosasaurus, one of the most feared marine builds in the history of the game. The Mesozoic expansion is often referred to as the Age of Reptiles. And while it is true that the Archosaurs, the reptile faction containing builds like the dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds, and crocodiles, did indeed dominate the Mesozoic, the same cannot be said for the other faction of reptiles, the lizard. For them, it was quite the opposite. They spent a good portion of that expansion's metagame getting griefed hard by the top-tier dinosaurs and pterosaurs. However, they did eventually adapt, and by the end of it, there was a lizard just as powerful as the most overpowered dinosaurs, the Mosasaurus. But how did the lizard player base adapt in order to survive the hostile dinosaur meta? Let's look at the specific traits that the ancient lizard mains spec'd into in order to gain a foothold.
Okay, so this is a reptile then.
Lizards tend to have below
Interesting.
average base stats. Their bite attacks aren't very powerful, usually only used for grabbing targets below their weight class, like insects and other small builds. They don't usually incorporate other combat techniques into their build like sharp claws, venom, or team strategies either, and instead try to rely on more janky gimmicks like intimidating frills, detachable tails, and tether grabs to get by.
Gimmicks.
This works because their cold blood requires a lot less food to keep their playthrough going, so they don't actually need to be that active or powerful in order to avoid starvation. However, this isn't true for all lizard builds. The Monitor Lizard faction, which includes famous high-tier lizards like the Komodo and Parenti, break with that trend and spec into faster metabolism, ramping up their base stats, but forcing them to play a bit more actively.
Oh
It
man.
was this player base that developed the early Mosasaur build by avoiding the common gimmicks other lizard mains went for, and instead choosing a difficult, unconventional set of abilities, including water mobility and, most surprisingly, the live birth respawn perk.
Wow. So this is basically a land reptile that evolved into the sea then.
Terrible, completely one-sided matchup against dinosaurs and pterosaurs meant that when the pressure was on, the Monitor Lizard player base's best option wasn't to run, nor was it to hide.
Or
Their
to
best
swim.
option was to completely switch up their playstyle and become a marine build. This synergized extremely well with their live respawn perk, because it let them avoid the spawn killing that was so oppressive to the other reptiles at the time.
Yeah, if you can give out live birth at the sea directly, you don't have to risk going on land. Just like this one, just like turtles, you don't have to risk laying eggs and then possibly leaving them undefended and free for all once they actually hatch. So yeah, it actually works.
While builds like the turtle frequently got their nests raided, the Proto-Mosasaurus build could respawn in water away from the dinosaur spawn killers, but in too shallow of water for top-tier sharks and fish to grief them. It was actually the perfect environment for them to thrive in, and eventually they just ended up staying in the water and not even bothering with returning to the terrestrial server to hunt.
Yeah.
Their wide-hinged jaws, which were decent at grabbing prey on land, were perfect for gulping down fish. Their success really started to snowball from here. The more evolution points they spent on water mobility perks, the more points they earned and were able to put right back into those upgrades. And they were such efficient hunters that they could support the added cost of gigantism. Mosasaurus shot up to a dominant top-tier spot faster than almost any other build in the history of the game, outcompeting ichthyosaurs in the process, and driving them to drop their characters entirely in favor of more viable marine builds. Mosasaurus mains had everything they needed to dominate the late Cretaceous meta, so let's go through all the things that made them so broken. Their first OP trait is also their most obvious one, their bite strength, which was on par with that of a T-Rex. It's hard to overstate how devastating a bite from Mosasaurus was, but suffice it to say that the other top-tier ocean predator builds at the time would all get one-shot by the Mosasaurus' bite. Zifactinus.
I mean, it's having a strong bite force is especially effective when you're going around eating shelled creatures like the turtles, but it's gonna be more effective towards flesh, I think, especially with what appears. It looks like they have really sharp teeth. That coupled with a very strong bite force is very deadly towards squishier targets.
One of the most powerful fish builds in the history of the game.
And they have really big mouths, so they don't even have to bite most of the time. They could just swallow the whole thing whole, I guess.
Paled in comparison to the Mosasaurus' strength. The Ammonite, a cephalopod that went for a tank-style build, probably had the best armor of any ocean build at that time, but even their shells weren't sturdy enough to save them from the crushing bite of a mosasaur.
See, even even if you have the best defense, and it still would crack under the incredible bite strength of the Mosasaurus. So,
obviously, its
tough
size
luck.
was equally as overpowered, but for reasons you might not expect. You see, because of its immense size, Mosasaurus wasn't particularly mobile. It generally had to ambush other players in order to land a hit with its overpowered jaws. Even tank builds like the Ammonite could outspeed it if they saw it coming. However, being the biggest ocean build in the entire server has...
Look at those stats. It's really crazy something that big could be that stealthy. I mean, look at that stealth. It's greater than its HP. Wow, I don't think it has max power though. It's probably at 95, I'm guessing.
One very important advantage. It gives you control over the surface of the water. See, the surface of the water is one of the most advantageous positions to be in when attempting to ambush another player who is above the surface. The reflective surface of the water grants a massive stealth bonus, making it easy to get within striking range of players who would normally be able to escape easily due to their high mobility. This is a double-edged sword though, as being on the surface of the water leaves you vulnerable.
It's always crazy to me to look at clips like this where something so huge can propel itself so high up in the water. I mean, we couldn't even do that. At least not most people. There's probably like what, a very small percentage of humans that can actually jump from like free floating underwater and then propel themselves high enough to even lift their bodies, like even how do you call this, parallel to the sea. If you imagine it like this, like that, even that would be hard. Imagine if you could jump like that. Ooh. And you're so big.
From the marine players below, but also from aerial hunters above, both of which there were no shortage of in the Cretaceous meta. This disadvantage is pretty much nullified by the Mosasaurus' size though. The main enemy of the giant unkillable behemoth style build, at least in the late game when they've already reached their full size, is starvation, not attacks from players. Mosasaurus abused this tactic to the absolute limit, frequently taking down even the most powerful dinosaur builds in the game.
So they're basically ganking players who are getting too close to the edge of the water.
Ever got careless at the
Just like orcas. Orcas do that.
water's edge, and also turning the tables on the exact pterosaur builds that specialize in punishing marine players who stray too close to the
Yeet.
water's surface. The last important factor in their success is a continuation of the ability that they spec'd into
Live
as
birth.
lizards, live birth. Mosasaurus retained this ability and expanded upon it by speccing into the parental instinct trait. Pretty much the only time Mosasaurus players were ever vulnerable was during the start of their playthrough, when they didn't have the size necessary to shield them from attacks. This is
Yeah.
when the other top tier ocean
So by the time they get big enough to gulp other fishes, then that's when it's smooth sailing.
bills, like Xiphactinus, would launch their assaults on the Mosasaur player base. As smaller lizards, these players would stay in the safety of water that was too shallow for Xiphactinus to approach. But even at level 1, Mosasaurus was too large for that, and so without the protection of mother Mosasaur players, Xiphactinus would absolutely demolish any hope of survival.
Ooh,
But with their help, Mosasaurus' dominion
they could practically use their young as bait.
over the Cretaceous ocean meta was basically untouchable. Of course, we all know how the devs reacted to the meta becoming so over-centralized around a select few overpowered builds. But hopefully this video is still useful as an example
Balance
of how
patch.
low-tier builds can rise to total dominance with only a few clever build choices and advanced techniques. Who knows what the next breakout success will be in the
I can't get it out of my head, but I gotta say it. You could say that balance patch had a big impact. Oh my god. Alright, moving on. I'm sorry.
modern Anthropocene meta. By the way, the Mosasaurus CGI in this video is from a fantastic new documentary called Amazing Dino World. It's a mini-series that tells the stories of various ancient creatures, with one episode being dedicated fully to the story of Mosasaurus' evolution. It's available right now on CuriosityStream, the best place on the internet for high-quality documentaries and non-fiction titles. I never thought I'd see the day where a dinosaur documentary would top the original Walking With series, but I have to be honest, Amazing Dino World blows it out of the water. I really do think CuriosityStream has become a major player in creating amazing new stuff, rather than just being a nostalgia hub for me. Oh, and speaking of creating new stuff, if you sign up for a CuriosityStream membership today, you'll also get access to a brand new streaming service that a bunch of creators, including myself, helped found, Nebula. This service features originals from tons of great creators, in addition to housing all of the normal YouTube content in a place where it's safe from obnoxious algorithm nonsense.
Come on,
So
show
if
me
you
the
want to
link.
support top-shelf educational content and indie creators alike, and get access to 2 amazing streaming sites, this is definitely a free trial you won't want to miss. Check out the link in the description.
Here we go, guys. If you want to get CuriosityStream, use the link on screen right now, curiositystream.com/TierZoo, and use promo code TierZoo for a free 30-day trial. And yeah, whew, man, that was a good video. They have so much alike with orcas, I gotta say. Their tactic in waiting, how to call this, in waiting on players who've gone to shallower waters and to gank them. That reminded me of one orca video where it baited I think it was a bird. It baited near the water and then ate it. But yeah, that was an interesting video. There's been a lot. I forgot what the other one is. We saw one TierZoo video where there were land animals who went back to the sea to basically develop better and evolve. So yeah, the Mosasaurus is just one of those, and obviously it it succeeded so much because they rarely have any what do you call this, natural predators. That was cool. But that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. And if you're new here and enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. Again, I'm still opening my suggestions to spooky videos for Halloween. Leave them down in the comments. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!